Welcome back to the channel. All right, it's time for the next class in the December 2024 Top 10 series from myself and the MCoC Illuminati. Hopefully you're familiar with the format by now, but if you're not, we're going to jump to a quick explainer of the format of this. The whole idea is for you to see all the different minds and experiences that go into creating that general tier list each and every single month, and also that there are so many different ways to be incredibly successful in this game. And that's why so many different people like so many different champions. And then we put that together for you each and every single month in the general tier list. And then before you head on, there's timestamps in the description so you can jump around. You'll see my rankings too. Of course, make sure you enter the drawing to win the free 6-star relic that I will be giving away. I have changed that deadline to December 30th, which is why the intro to all these videos is now the same. That's the day of the release of the general tier list in December from myself and the Illuminati. Make sure you comment on all these videos, you make me laugh, you show you watch the video, and you provide some constructive criticism on ways I can make my videos and these videos better so we can all have just even more fun and learn even more things as we head into 2025. Pay attention to YouTube comments because that's how I will be contacting you. All right, let's get into this. All right, now here's going to be the format for every single one of these class top 10s as we go through December 2024. You can see on the right-hand side, we broke the game down into 4 different categories. The way we are looking at the game, what we think about when we're making our rank ups, and when we get together and do the monthly tier list, right? It's what helps prevent the tier list from being too biased towards one person's experience for the modes they enjoy and those sorts of things. Broken down between battlegrounds, fun, alliance, war, and content. Fun is like, who do you enjoy playing, all right? And there's gonna be the personal and the recommended. For mine, I'm gonna always be going through the recommended. We're gonna look at the Illuminatis, and then I will show you my recommended. And then at the very end, we will definitely take a look at my personal too. So you can see how that is different based on what I personally enjoy and what I think would be great for someone who's playing the game in a similar way to me. All right, let's take a look at what the Illuminati has for us. All right, we'll start off with the Illuminati tech rankings with BMcG. Again, go check out this guy's channel. I'm sure you already have, but make sure you're subscribed and watch these top 10s he's putting forth for us. You can see kind of how B has all his priorities spread out, right? Content, alliance, war, fun. Not that much on BG's, but like I've said with a lot of these other videos, if you're ranking up for a lot of these other content and you include fun, it's rare that you don't have anything for a mode. You can see it's really clear here. Like some of the ones I'm going to stand out, I'm going to talk about is Sentinel, right? This is going to be a new buff. I do think Sentinel is going to be a dual threat, heavily defensive leaning though. By now you should have seen me cover that buff at least a little bit. Obviously Guardian, I'm a massive fan on. I love that B has included a Mega Sentinel. She continues to prove her worth and be incredibly valuable. And then everyone loves and cheers for Howard the Duck. And then Ultron, especially if you can get Ultron at a very high sig. This is a really unique call out. I love that B is doing that. Taking a lot of those hazard shift lanes and things like that just totally opens up fights that Ultron otherwise just would not be able to use. And then is it any surprise to anyone who knows B's channel? Future Ant-Man is at the absolute top of the list. Really hard to argue with. And you can see the 6-star influence is still very strong for BMcG. Next we have Campo, and I think this is already showing the immense strength, especially in that 2nd and 3rd tier on the general tier list of the tech class. Makes a lot of sense. There's a lot of diversity within this class on what they can do and how they go about doing it. For me, a lot of that reflects also the state of the mutant class, right? It was so strong for so long. Then we got like 2 mutants over the course of 2 or 3 years. So much so that we all convinced ourselves that Toad was actually good. So much of what mutant or tech was then doing was like, it has to obviously do something with prowess effects. And I don't know if that was necessarily true. And if you look at this, you see like Shocker deals with prowess a little bit there, right? Iron Man does as well. But you're seeing like Prowler doesn't, Spider-Man definitely doesn't Stark enhanced. Ironheart is a phenomenal champion, just not fast in battlegrounds. Nimrod, what you're going to see falling down a lot of lists. We even been demoting him more and more in the general tier list because mutants on the swing back. We're not seeing prowess all over the place. He was obviously the one that was dominating it. And then Nimrod also was placing that shock. And so we even saw nodes that were like, hey, you remove that prowess, bad things are going to happen to you. And then this is the first time we're seeing Jack-O-Lantern. It will not be the last. We have our 3rd YouTuber in a row. Make sure you go check out Campo's videos. They've been phenomenal. I've really enjoyed them as well. And then MCoC Encyclopedia. Again, just one war season. Make sure you go and congratulate him. Make sure you let him know I sent you, and check out all his content guides, especially if you're coming up in this game. They're fantastic. They're phenomenal. Still showing the dominance of the 6 stars, just how they're broken, right? Like, we may be getting to the point where we see Nimrod based on a lot of what I was just talking about. Like, not as many mutants coming out with like this big prowess thing. Maybe there's some shock immunities. Nodes are punishing the removal of shock. These are the ways that Kabam goes about, like, not nerfing a champion, but making a champion okay to like place back into the battle realm. Really want to cut out Guillotine 2099. I really like her. She's a champion I often advise raking up. She's been incredibly valuable for Necropolis challenges, for EOP challenges, just difficult fights along the way. Really interesting, so strong for EOP because she was built as a ramp up champion, and well, if you can play it skilledly enough, she's going to ramp up really well for you. I do need to talk to MCoC Encyclopedia about how lowly he has Prowler ranked. Clearly he has not investigated that signature ability. All jokes, it really just goes to the tech class and shows like the tremendous versatility. I love how highly he has ranked Hulkbuster. Again, the versatility of this class is just completely shown here. Egatron, BG's, War Focus, Ultron, incredibly highly ranked. I'm sure that's got to be with a high sig. People are starting to pull him, and he's a great candidate for signature stones because he's so rare. They're just so unlikely to be able to pull him. I love seeing Iron Man and Guardian up there. Lady Deathstrike, really great for that one fight against Havoc, and in some other metas. I've used Lady Deathstrike a lot on my channel. You've seen that. Shocker has been very consistently on here, and even Prowler, even though it was in honorable mention, very consistent on here, makes a lot of sense. But again, you continue to see the diversity of this class, and I think what they do and what they're asked to do and how they work within their class relationships with Cosmic and with Mutant. And then our last Illuminati tier list here, make sure you go check out TJ's channel as well. Incredible war player, incredible Battlegrounds player. Not surprising given the Battlegrounds high performance. Shocker, so incredibly rated high. And also Guardian and Shuri. Little surprising to see Ghost. I'm assuming some of that's still like her powerfulness in war. Throw a recoil on, throw some power backs on. Really not seeing her in too much high tier Battlegrounds these days. Future Ant-Man, despite being a 6-star, still holding up incredibly well. And given how much TJ enjoys Battlegrounds, it is surprising to me to see Spider-Man Stark Enhanced as low as they are, but then you look at TJ's priorities, Alliance War is the big one. Don't see Spider-Man Stark Enhanced that much in the highest tiers of war. All right, those were the Illuminati tech tier lists. Let's go ahead and jump over to mine. All right, now it's time to move on to my tech tier list. And keep in mind, my priorities are fun, 4, Battlegrounds 4, and one of the cool things about going through these tier lists and making these decisions is not only is it a good exercise for me and all of the Illuminati, so we can really stress test our ideas when we then get together as a group and go over this. And you can imagine how long that takes with the variety you're seeing, especially here in tech. But it also forces me to look at, like, what do I really believe and how am I really ranking up? And it's been surprising for me to see how much I'm actually ranking up for fun. It's very cool. I'm happy to see that. And like I've said in every other video, I've never once gone into a war in tier 3 or tier 4 or maybe tier 1 in the near future here, or into an EOP fight or content or whatever and thought, man, if only I had not ranked up this champion, ranked up this one instead, this would be so much better. When you really concentrate on fun, you're gonna be a-okay, in my opinion, because you're not gonna rank up and have fun with crappy champions. They're gonna be pretty good. There's a reason why you like them, and often that's the thing that gets like asked for, is that sort of versatility, and you're gonna know how to use them. So make sure you keep that in mind as you go through this, and then you see the diversity of opinions here on these things. We're gonna very quickly, because I did a big intro there, we're gonna talk about the honorable mentions for this class, and we're gonna do it fast. I'm not even gonna pull them up. The first one's gonna be Jack-o'-lantern. Would not be shocked at all, right, if in June Jack-o'-lantern is within the top 10. I just want to see it. I want to see it in a variety of spaces. We talked when we did the new champion review. I loved him. He's got the plasma for the mutants and all that good stuff, right? He has incinerate immunity, and he can parry projectiles. It's like they really just decide, hey, how can we counter onslaught? That needs to happen. They put it all in, and they're like, oh, guess what? Turns out if you make a champion who can counter onslaught, has the utility to do that, and also has enough damage to get him down relatively quickly before you die, Turns out it's a really, really good champion. The other one we'll talk just briefly on, and this is me kind of calling out. Remember, I'm going for fun and battlegrounds. And throughout this whole series, I've talked to you like 6-stars aren't dead, but I highly suggest you invest in your 7s now if you're interested in these modes. And even in questing, as Campo says, there is a really strong 6-star tax now. And this one like almost hurts. And I'm doing this almost symbolically, right? Because as of today, Future Ant-Man is by far the best option for one of the Nakrina's challenges fights was Spider-Man 2099, which shows you how insanely powerful he is. I don't think he's broken. I would not use the term broken for him at all, like have for like Hercules, Cosmic Ghost Rider, and some other champions along the way. But he is OP. He's crazy hella OP, right? And you look at his signature ability and like all the goodies that are in there. Incoming bleeds and suffer 90% duration. We're seeing this with other champions. I'm talking about how incredibly powerful he is, like Spiral and things like that. He actually was kind of like immune to Gallon, one of the first tech champions to come in and be able to do that. He's got a glancing mechanic. The power control is phenomenal. You line that up, the damage is actually incredibly, incredibly good too. His light attack is like bizarro and he's hard to punish. You want to be intercepting him and things like that. He's a fantastic champion. And like I said, when you're looking to like split hairs to when a class that's this strong, all this strong, in a game this huge, just really narrow it down to 10. If I'm recommending you're making your rank ups for battlegrounds and for fun, if you really have fun and you love Future Ant-Man, go ahead and put some resources in there. But man, using actual catalysts right now for 6-stars, if you have goals of competing in those modes, you better not have 7-stars that you could be putting them into that are good, that are going to be on this list, because I think you're just going to get a lot more bang for your buck on them. I know that's going to be kind of a controversial one, but I wanted you to understand why and what my rationale and thinking was. I still think he's great. And when we do the top 30 overall, you're probably going to see him show up because that's not going to be formatted in the same way, shape, or form. All right, let's go ahead and move on. We are going to move on to my number 10. She is a absolute dual threat. She is back. There was a time where she came in and was just dominating the battle realm on defense. I've talked to you like I was using Venom Pool and Venom and using Spider-Man 2099 to head into her block nonstop. She has a dual immunity there with Poison and Incinerate, and if you have her signature ability, she can actually block healing, right? Not just Nick Fury. I've recently used her in a very difficult Battlegrounds meta with a lot of power gain to defeat Sinisters, and the score actually was not bad, and my penny's only a rank 2. She can do some serious damage with her SP2 with the Incinerate. It's just a simple SP1 into SP2 rotation. You want to make sure you line up her SP1 properly so the opponent gets pushed over a bar of power. But she's a very effective champion. I think with the presence of Man-Thing and that sort of thing, you're going to find uses for her. She can even be a decent dust counter. The vast majority of her power is on the defensive side, so she's a defensive-leaning dual threat, in my opinion. I do think her stocks are like, they're probably plateaued a little bit. Like they dropped way, way, way far, but then coming out as a 7-star. And then as we talked about in the Cosmic video, so many of the broken ones are not available 7-stars. So her having a 7-star, the 7-star challenge rating really pushes her up considerably. I genuinely thought about taking her to rank 3 this last time I was ranking a tech champion to rank 3. All right, let's go ahead and move on to number 9. This one feels like insane for me to have her at number 9. I think you could easily make an argument for her to be number 1. She's been number 1 in the general tier list for a very long time. It's just that more and more tech champions come out and they're all kind of cannibalizing a little bit of what each other does. And in that, the Venn diagram of Shuri's power is kind of getting swallowed up. Now, if you were really new in this and you like, let's say you haven't done Acropolis yet, oh goodness, rank up Shuri for sure. Absolutely, no doubt. She is good in Battlegrounds. Remember, she has non-contact attacks. And not only is that troublesome when you're fighting a champion, but what that means is if you're late punishing a special, or you can be more aggressive trying to punish in these things, unless they can block non-contact attacks, they can't parry you. You're just going to hit into their block. So you can be a little bit more risky with a champ like that. That's why she's so good. The simple, or one of the things that's so good. That's why that non-contact is so powerful for a champion. Then you look at the signature ability. Against special attacks, Shuri can block unblockables. That's just at Sig 1. Like, you just get it. Then she has her ability actually cannot be altered. That's not like by mutants. That's not just for Magneto and things like that, or Domino. It just means it just can't be altered. You can have debuffs on you, you can have passives on you. The champion can just do it by the very nature of them existing. Doesn't matter. She's also immune to shock, and then the precision effects that are not her own. So if you dex, you're not going to get precision, meaning I'm not saying she's great for all mystics, but this is something that can help you out with that sort of scenario. She's not buff immune, but that is a big deal, and it does come up. She can't land critical hits, but then later on, you see, she can if you really need her to. Also, last thing, because she's a great domino counter, is her specials just literally cannot be evaded. Like, that's it. They just can't. She has a lot of these absolutes in her kit that are wonderful, right? So you don't run into the serpent like 125% immortality problem. Like with Shuri, it's a bunch of like, this just can't happen. That's it. That's it. She is fantastic. She's phenomenal. It's that Venn diagram and that battlegrounds and fun focus is why I don't have her at rank 3 yet, despite really very much thinking overall she might be the best champion in the game. Very much deserves to be in that conversation. The next one we're going to talk about is Warlock. For me, again, this is very much due to the battlegrounds nature of this, right? And the whole thing is because you can pretty safely assume your opponent's going to be running willpower. And then when the opponent's power is drained or burned, inflicted degen passive. So you're degenning them, you're burning their power. This is how people are taking out like Bullseye with him. They just parry, they heavy, they're landing the bleed. Bullseye tries to heal, he loses his power. It's a very slow, methodical way of playing. But then Warlock actually, if you can get him to crit, that SB2 does serious damage. It has the big armor breaks. He's a robot, so whenever those tags are asked for, he's good to go. Immune to poison and bleed. He's a great champion. Just if I was just going for like general questing and things like that, he would not be nearly as high on this list. Great champion, just kind of something that I want to make sure I point out. Now moving on to number 7, we have a bit of a dual threat here. You know how badly I wanted to awaken this champion. I was not able to. Hopefully, I think they've now come to the base crystal. So this is another reason for me to really want to get those base crystal pulls. He is absolutely fantastic. The initial awakening was a big deal for me because, again, I want to be able to use him in battlegrounds, a last-minute upgrade to the Punisher's arsenal, blah, 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 blah. You can start the fight with each 25% of his nanotech battery, which is what allows him to reduce the combat power rate of defenders. There was a time where, like, not that didn't mean anything, but it was always ability power rate, right? Like power gain nodes and power gain buffs, or the opponent just gained more power. Well, not that that's not an issue. It still is, but it feels like the desire to get a fight over quicker or before opponent can throw their specials and the dangers of the fight can really start to develop. No one is better than Punisher 2099 than that. And he's got enough damage that when played properly with his specials, you're able to break in there, get it going, get the fights down. And then his specials are like literally impossible to desk. So any sort of meta that's taking like penetration or something like that, he's a really good defender. You can place him. I've been able to beat him up a few times. I'm not saying he's like one of the best defenders, but he is a reasonable offensive leaning dual threat in my opinion. Now moving on to number 6. None other than my boy Guardian. You know this. This is like one of the first champions I ever tried to seriously cover in this game. I just did a crappy job. The signature ability, you see I have him at SIG level 100. It's all natural. I don't currently plan on putting 6 stones into him, and you'll see why when we get to my, well, I'm not going to spoil that. This is all natural, and this was finally at a point where I was like, you know what? It's time. It's time to rank 3 him. He's fantastic, right? It's not as transformative. Well, maybe it is. For Battlegrounds, it is anyway, as the Relic is for Venom, but we definitely have the T for transformative on the Relic tier list for this. It is this whole thing right here. Here it is right here, this first rune. The next shock debuff gains almost 50% duration and 50% potency. It's why he's just one-shotting champions, SB1 into SB2. And then remember, he, on top of all those resistances, all the block proficiency, all that stuff, when you well-timed block a special from the opponent, you're gaining power, so you can get through there significantly faster with some nice skilled play. He's fantastic. He's great. He's even a good defender if they can't get rid of his armor up buff. Moving on to number 5, and you saw other players have him as like their number 1. I think it makes a ton of sense. I've got him at rank 2. I've taken him to SIG 88. You know, the signature ability is fantastic. You can only imagine what a SIG 200 would be like. I'm content at 88. I'm able to just handily defeat Onslaught's no problem. Mr. Sinister's no problem. Remember, Shocker doesn't crit. He's about building up his charges. You throw the SB1 at a significant reduce less power. You get to your SB2. you get the big stun, it's a big passive, and then you hold your heavy and you dominate. Like, he's that simple. It's even in his kit written, like, he's a simple man and what have you. The relic pairing is really nice for him here with Green Goblin. We've been over that. Some of the relic abilities, it's not transformative. He's great without it. And then he can even handle prowess for you too. He's a great champion. He actually is immune to shock. Hence, I don't know if that's why he's called Shocker, but it's probably the other way around, which makes a lot of sense. And then if the opponent has Limber Mastery active, it is removed. He is simple, he's direct, he's blunt force, and he is insanely powerful. And he's got a great belt. Yeah, I don't see him moving anywhere. He's fantastic. Moving on to the number 4 champion, it's going to have to be Iron Man Infinity War. Now, this is purely on the list for defensive reasonings. He is one of the best defenders in the game. He's incredibly problematic. Medusa is going to destroy him, though. I showed you that. So counters are starting to build, but again, you want to have your defenders ranked up. I don't see him falling off anytime soon. Defenders have counters. It's about having enough of them and being strategic with your bands and with your drafts so you set up your defenders well. No one, well, yeah, he's in the Pantheon. I think we have him as a 9 out of 10 in the Battlegrounds tier list. I guess Bullseye maybe is better, maybe Photon. It's arguable, Atuma, but he is at the top of the list. And you can see I've taken him to rank 3 over champions that are clearly love, that I know are powerful in Battlegrounds, like Shocker, who we just passed. You got to get your defenders in there. That's why I have him placed so highly. So you can see I really mean what I'm saying. Moving on to number 3, we have what I feel is the best dual threat champion in the tech class. Shocker gives Red Skull some run for his money there, but I think Red Skull is a superior defender, and I have had tremendous success using Red Skull offensively. I've shown you this. We've talked about it. I did the whole video. Remember, he is immune to nullify, fate seal, and stagger effects from champions, not from nodes. Against mutants, Red Skull's ability actually cannot be modified. So there you go. There's how I love handling Domino this way. When you want to try to parry her, it's great because she's going to hit your block. And then he's got that whole damage back mechanic from that. His sidestep for Domino is fantastic. You get to your SP2. You throw it. I love this relic. I actually have my bigger Hulkbuster relic on my Red Skull, even though Guardian. And that's because all of the runes actually benefit Red Skull. Really interesting, right? You elongate your Unstoppable buff, which then allows you to get to your SP1. You can use your Unstoppable like a counter punch. And then the defender will rush in. You go unstoppable, or you are unstoppable. You counter punch. You can get your SP1. You keep your shocks going, and things just die. Remember, he also has the heal block off of his heavy. So he's a great champion. He's a very good defender. There are counters coming out for him. That's fine. I think he's still worthy of placing. And then you can use him offensively to beat up some very meta champions. Like I just mentioned, he's phenomenal, and I love questing with him too. The SP3 is even powerful as well. He's fantastic. One of my favorite champions to play in this game. All right, let's go ahead and move on to number 2, which I think is going to surprise some of you. But this is where I'm trying. I really am working hard to not have bias in these recommended lists. It's more like if you have the same priorities as me, these are what I really do suggest. It's worked out incredibly well for me. And it's none other than Prowler. Now, when it comes to just Prowler's state in the game, I think he honestly might be the best tech champion in the game. And I know he's very controversial. I know because of other videos I've made. I think a lot of it comes down to people not understanding how great he is, what's actually in his kit. And because when he came out, I think you were seeing a lot of footage of him not having, maybe even being awakened, much less SIG 200. And I know, and I understand. So you're like, that's not realistic. Well, I don't buy 600 deals. I don't think I've bought a single one. There are some that have come from like Cyber Weekend and stuff, but I don't know the standalone ones. I haven't. And I awakened him, and then I've taken him to SIG 149. It's just that I'm going to be very intentional about where I use it. I'm going to get him to at least 180. I might go all the way to 200 because his SIG scales really high at the very end. You see like as much from the last 20 as you do from like the first 180. And if you're wondering what that is and why it's important, I should show that to you. While the opponent is faltered, which is part of his kit, Prowler gains a significant critical rating. So that SP2, when you're going to get all those passive ruptures, it's going to crit and do tremendous damage. Like, he sometimes can end fights in just a single SP2. He doesn't need to go to his SP1 for some of his fights. Now, if you do need to go to your SP1, it's because he's got that pursuit passive. A lot of his stuff is passive. He's not built to beat Mystics per se, but he has a lot in his kit that makes him worthy or able to beat Mystics. Think about it. When the defender throws or when the opponent throws a special, they are completely, I believe it is power drained. I want to make sure I get those right. I often get the power drain, power steal, and all that. That completely counters Mystic Dispersion because they're also power locked. So he's a tech champion with a bunch of passives. Remember his Furies, when you go to throw your special too, also passive. Then when they throw their special, they're power locked, right? He's just doing a tremendous amount for you. You can beat up a lot of the in-game meta mutants, and you can beat up and take on a lot of champions in other classes as well. And, so maybe he's not ending the fight in that first special too. How many champions are ending the fight in a single special too? He has non-contact mediums. We've talked about that and why that's so helpful in helping to play aggressive. It's also really helpful for allowing you to handle damage back mechanics like a Tuma, like Korg, those sorts of things. He's absolutely fantastic. He has some defensive threat, right? But I don't think it's anything to write home about. Think of him as being more of an offensive champion. And remember, his medium attacks, in case you're having trouble getting to your SP1 or you do just want to go straight to your SP2 to just destroy it, they also can't be evaded, those being his medium attacks. I'm still more comfortable with the matchup against Domino with Red Skull, but over time, I feel very confident that Prowler's actually become my favorite champion to fight Domino with. And then, of course, he's got a whole bunch of other utility and damage, so he's going to be able to take other champions as well. I love Prowler so much, I had to come back and remind you, he's also immune to Bleed and Incinerate. And then, of course, he's got that Falter, which is obviously great for his damage because of the additional things here. But he also can use that Falter to create openings, which is a really, really big deal. All right, let's go ahead and move on to number one. This feels wild, given when this man came into the game. Like, I remember when he came into the game. I remember the first time I was able to play him. This is years and years and years ago. He was dominant. He was part of the Holy Trinity. He was one of the best champions in the game. And he obviously still is. In Battlegrounds, this is probably my most consistent ban. A deck as large as mine, a roster as large as mine, I feel that I don't have him, which maybe is part of why I value him so insanely much. Maybe if I had him, I'd think of him slightly less, but I really don't think so. I'm consistently banning him because he can just take out so many incredible meta defenders. You can just build up your poise. You go in, you're just going to hit insanely, insanely hard. And then he has the power control too. With his heavy and all those things, he's got the stun off of the SP1 to finish this off. He's got the auto evade as well. In a game where it did feel like power creep was putting him behind in a variety of ways, a mode came out that feels completely tailor-made, or maybe the other way around, he feels tailor-made for today's Battlegrounds. He almost makes the Karina's challenges worth doing for me, but it would be so difficult for me to choose between him and Massacre, because while I do recognize and I do believe that Spider-Man Stark Enhanced is a better champion for Battlegrounds, I absolutely love Massacre. But this is about Stark Enhanced. Campo's got it. Campo's been showing us and telling us for an extremely long time now. And like I said, I feel strongly that if I had been keeping track over my Battlegrounds for the last, 6, 7 metas or something like that, Spider-Man Stark Enhanced would be my most banned. Yes, over Juggernaut. All right, that's my tech recommended list. Now let's take a quick look at like my super bias list, where I'm not trying to give advice. It's just what I enjoy and what I have fun doing. Okay, you'll see that the list isn't that different, except for right in the middle there, right? We've got OG Iron Man. As much as I love him, as much as I love my Tony Stark, I love what he does to mutants. With their prowess, the armor breaks, the incredible damage ramp up, the absolute tankiness, the parrying of specials. He's phenomenal in raids, almost makes it feel like a joke. He can be great if the EOP quest allows him to be great, right? Or if he's a tag champion. He's phenomenal for questing. He's got a heal. I do recognize that at least right now he's not deserving of being on that list for a Battlegrounds focus and that sort of thing. If you get him into a high enough sig, he can be a pretty good defender, and it's not like he's bad on offense. It's just A lot of the other tech champions were better, in my opinion, overall, in general. And then the other one was Hulkbuster. He's insane. He's incredible. I love playing him. I've actually been forcing him into my Battlegrounds deck. His ramp is so insane. And you get to that SB2, you throw it into their block. I've written it down. You get the power burn. I whiff on the heavy quite a bit. I'm still getting better at the timing of all of that. It can be really, really frustrating. I'm not going to tell you it can't be, but it just feels so good to go busting all over people. Like, it's fun. I'm taking out onslaughts and getting really good scores. Remember, the SP3 power drains and then applies shocks. And remember, that's where his attack rating gets significantly increased. It's per shock. So your ability to land the heavy, get the shocks up, really increases your damage. And this is all not even talking about the really long, nice stun off of his SP1. He's an absolute blast to play. I'm so glad I took him to rank 3. And that's the sort of thing where it's like, I love Battlegrounds. I enjoy getting to Mysterium and all of that good stuff. But I'm going to rank up and have fun. And when I get to play with my favorite champions, I'm just that much happier for it. Those are the tech rankings. Make sure you check out the playlist for all of my top 10s. All of the Illuminati top 10s. Campbell and BMG are going to be up in there quite a bit. And then, of course, we're going to do the top 30 champions in the game, where it won't be just my Battlegrounds and fun focus. And then last but not least, the full Illuminati year-end, fully stress tested after doing all of our top 10s, December general tier list to cap off the year. As usual, let me know what you think I got right. Let me know what you think I got wrong. Thank you so much for watching. Take care.